I'm Dr. Jack Lewin at Hart House. Welcome to this edition of the Lewin Report. This morning, the Institute of Medicine released a long-awaited report, an extensive report on the voluntary and regulatory measures needed to reduce conflicts of interest in medical research, education, and practice.
Not all relationships between medical companies and physicians and professional organizations are problematic. Patients and the public benefit from constructive relationships between medicine and industry, particularly in moving discoveries from the bench into clinical care to improve patient care. At the same time, there are financial relationships that may unduly influence doctors' judgment and erode public trust in medicine. This report spells out a reasonable strategy, we believe, to protect against financial conflicts of interest while allowing productive collaborations between physicians and industry.
I'm here today with ACC's newly installed president, Dr. Fred Beauvais of Temple University in Philadelphia. He and I were present at the release today with Dr. Harvey Feinberg, Bernard Lowe, and others who were principals in the preparation of the report. Fred, welcome.
Thanks, Jack.
What was your impression? I mean, there was a lot of concern. People were almost frustrated and frightened in the professional societies that somehow the IOM was going to come out and say something totally draconian, like there should be no connection between doctors and the industry forever and ever. Research, publication, CME, and people were worried that this was going to be overreaching. What was your impression of the reports released today?
Well, no, I absolutely agree with you, Jack. And we've seen draconian recommendations in the past of no relations with industry, and there should be no consulting, no education, no anything. And I think this was a perfectly balanced report. I mean, it made it very clear that there's a value of working with industry. I think everybody's understood that. The products we have, and they even quoted a table of products that came from cooperation between academia and industry. I think everybody realizes that that's essential to the way the country works and to the health of the country. I think they recognize that. They recognize there has to be relationships. They left the door open for solutions by the professional societies to get the right relationships, to get the right conflicts out of the guidelines, to get the conflicts out of the education, but not divorce everything one from the other, but rather come up with the proper solutions with transparency, with review processes to prevent bias. And I, from my standpoint, I think it number one, it supports our position that we've been working on for the last bunch of years to get this right. It leaves the door open for solutions for both education and for consulting and for support for professional organizations and medical schools and all the other places that really do rely on some funding from industry, and I think industry feels like they have an obligation to put money into the communities. So I think they left us with, number one, there's opportunities. There's really no prohibitions. I think they made it clear that maybe a chair of a guideline committee should not have any relationships, but even people with relationships could contribute to guidelines as long as it was clear where they were. So to me, it number one, supports our position, and number two, gives us plenty of room to develop appropriate relationships and be careful how to get rid of the biases.
Good summary, Fred. The CME side was where I think there was the greatest concern, and they left the door open to look at the appropriate ways that we could actually find ways to bring funds from industry into CME without biasing the content. What was their suggestion about how to proceed with these, unmentioned approaches?
Well, there's a couple things. First of all, I think their whole approach was get it back to us. Let us solve the problem.
Which is welcome.
I think that's essential because you don't want administrators or bureaucrats or legislators trying to do this for us. They don't understand the nuances of what we do, and they'll do these draconian types of rules that will be hard to follow. So putting it back on our table is the right way to do it. It challenges us because we have to come up with the right answers. But I think we're better at doing that than anybody else right now.
Yeah, well, this is like a big sigh of relief. I would just put this out. I think as part of your legacy as president of the ACC, let's convene the rest of the professional societies and define together how we can, still bring some funds into CME, but do so in an unbiased fashion in a patient-centric, scientific way. and get that done as part of what you're doing. Are you open to that?
Oh, I think they suggested it, and so it's pretty easy if they say do it for us to take that up as an issue. We've always been kind of on the front edge of the conflicts and the disclosures and everything else. So it seems to me that we in fact, ACC, can be the organizer and the leader in getting this multi-professional organization group together to come up with a standard set of rules. I think the IOM committee made it very clear that they'd like to see standards. They'd like to see standards for disclosure. They'd like to see standards for policy. And I think it makes sense because once there is standards, any of us that are working with different organizations won't have to be doing different things for each organization. So I think they threw the gauntlet down for us. You put it together, you get the groups together, you make up the rules. I think it's a great opportunity, and it's something we should do.
Good. Well, we're going to hold you accountable to do this during your presidency. You'll probably assign it to the CEO.
Right. That's right.
Anyway,
Thanks
for joining us today.
Good, thanks.
And thank you for joining us on this edition of the Lewin Report. See you next time.